A super intelligent alien duck landed on Earth, and people decided to make a barbecue out of it to see what it tastes like. Ready to witness this? Then let's get started. Howard the Duck is a young guy, or rather, a drake, who lives on Duck World. It's a planet similar to Earth, but as you might guess, it's inhabited solely by ducks. However, they look and behave just like real people. Howard returns home from work, watches TV, and then reads a Playduck magazine. Suddenly, his chair starts shaking violently. It looks like an earthquake. The chair, with Howard in it, takes off and wrecks the entire house. The other ducks are shocked, but can't do anything to help the poor thing. Howard flies straight into outer space. He's pulled into some kind of vortex and carried to our galaxy. He lands on Earth. Our hero is surrounded by a group of strangely dressed young people. They grab him and drag him into a nightclub. The security guard is convinced he's a child in a duck costume and throws him out onto the street. Howard lands right at the feet of a homeless woman and tries to hide in an alleyway, but he ends up scaring a sweet couple out of their wits. Then our hero has to run from a group of biker misfits and hide from them in a garbage bin. We realize that Howard ended up in America, and it's around the year 1985. After the concert, a couple of thugs attack a young rock singer. They harass her near a garbage bin where Howard is hiding. Our hero decides to save the poor young woman, jumps out of the dumpster, and uses his fighting style, Quack Fu, to defeat the robbers. The young woman actively helps Howard to deal with the scoundrels. The thugs flee in terror, and the rock singer stares in shock at the talking duck. The girl is about to head home, but Howard looks so lonely and miserable that she feels sorry for him. She invites our hero to her apartment and lets him stay the night. Her name is Beverly. She plays in a rock band called Cherry Bomb, and she can't stand her greedy manager. The kind young woman offers Howard some milk, but what he really needs is a beer. When our protagonist sits down in the chair, it starts shaking again. This scares the hell out of Howard. He tells Beverly about his planet, Duck World. This drake dreamed of becoming a musician, but works as an advertising manager. Exhausted, Howard falls asleep very quickly. Beverly notices a wallet with documents, bank cards, and photos of Howard. There are even duck dollars inside. The next day, Beverly takes Howard in a taxi to her scientist friend. To prevent the taxi driver from noticing anything unusual, she hides our hero in a trash bag and carries him like this to the office of a young researcher named Phil. Seeing the talking duck, Phil becomes extremely excited and wants to study this wonder drake in detail. Beverly hopes that the scientist will help Howard return to his planet. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The thing is, Phil is actually not a scientist at all, but just a regular janitor. Upon learning this, Howard becomes very upset, argues with Beverly, drives away the curious kids, and refuses to accept help from his new friend. He resigns himself to the fact that he will spend the rest of his life on Earth. Howard heads to the employment center and asks the manager to find him a job. The nasty woman is convinced that he's just a lazy person in a duck costume and offers him a position as a janitor at a local romantic spa. The director immediately starts mocking Howard, and our main character quickly quits. The unemployed drake wanders the city, constantly becoming the target of mockery. He learns that the duck hunting season has begun in the city and is horrified by the news. Howard finds a nightclub where Beverly is performing. He notices his friend on stage and hears her beautiful voice. She is performing with the rock band Cherry Bomb, and the audience is crazy about her. Howard notices Beverly's manager and learns that he pays her very little money because she refused to be his girlfriend. Upon hearing this, our hero demands that the man give Beverly all the money she has earned. Howard is thrown onto the bar counter and knocked to the floor. He gets up and strikes back. The manager grabs Howard and raises a knife over him. Our hero defends himself and attacks his opponent. The frightened manager hands Howard all the money earned by the band, and the furious drake says that anyone he bites will die from cosmic rabies. After the performance, the Cherry Bomb band returns to their dressing room, and Howard joins them. The girls are very happy to see him. Phil shows up and brings everyone pizza. He tells Howard that he's working on a solution to his problem and pulls a feather from his tail. Howard gives the young women their earned money and heads home with Beverly. The singer offers him to become the new manager of their band. They begin to flirt, and Beverly is quite determined, while Howard is very scared, as he has no experience with real girls. However, he is ready to take the risk. Unfortunately, our sweet couple is interrupted by Phil and two of his colleagues. They confess that they recently invented a laser spectroscope and decided to test it. The scientists aimed their device at Howard's planet and accidentally brought him to Earth. This means they can reverse the process and send Howard back to Duck World. All our characters immediately head to the laboratory. Surprisingly, there are no security guards at the checkpoint. A scared and slightly singed scientist runs toward them and says that there was an explosion just now. Panic breaks out in the research center. Something is burning, people are running, shouting, and bustling about. It seems the laser spectroscope malfunctioned and is now operating erratically. During the latest explosion, a scientist named Jennings mysteriously disappeared. The researchers are afraid that, at this very moment, they may have brought another form of life from other galaxies to Earth. Howard demands that the scientists immediately send him back home. The police arrive and assume it's some kind of prank. They try to remove his duck costume, but, of course, they can't. Then Howard is labeled as an illegal alien from outer space and is arrested. With Beverly's help, our brave duck manages to escape from the police station. They return to the laboratory and encounter Dr. Jennings. It becomes clear that this man is obsessed with some form of alien life, but is trying to resist its influence. Jennings, Beverly, and Howard steal a car and leave the laboratory. They narrowly avoid a serious accident. Jennings complains that a monster is growing inside him. Our characters stop at a diner. The strange visitors attract too much attention. Well, of course, a pretty young woman, a duck, and a man with a crazy face. Beverly asks the waitress to bring them some food and beer. Jennings says that he is now the dark overlord of the universe, who arrived on Earth thanks to the laser spectroscope's work. The waitress brings Howard scrambled eggs, and he is horrified. It's like eating his children. Jennings' eyes begin to glow with a bright blue light, like lasers, and he blows up the mustard and ketchup on their table. The scientist says that he will reactivate the spectroscope and bring his friends, other dark overlords, to Earth. Howard tries to grab the key to the spectroscope from Jennings, but he electrocutes him. Despite this, our hero manages to steal the key. A group of truck drivers enters the diner and starts making fun of Howard. The duck refuses to be humiliated and immediately gets into a fight. Chaos erupts in the diner. Howard deals with the bullies, but other customers grab him and take him to the chef. Howard is tied up, placed on the kitchen table, and threatened with being turned into barbecue. They sprinkle him with spices, and the chef raises his largest knife. Beverly begs crazy Jennings to save Howard. He agrees. The scientist, or rather the dark overlord of the universe, destroys the diner with his laser beams and sets the kitchen on fire. The people panic and run away. Beverly and Howard also want to escape, but Jennings won't let them. He lifts Howard into the air, takes the key to the spectroscope from him, throws it to the floor, and then takes Beverly and leaves the diner. Jennings needs her body. The thing is, dark overlords cannot exist without a human body. A super long tongue, like a hose, extends from Jennings' mouth, and he recharges from the car's battery. Howard comes to his senses and tries to catch up with Beverly, but is unable to do so. Then, he finds Phil. The guy has been arrested for illegal experiments at the laboratory. They escape from the police and find a small red hang glider. Using it, they take off and head out to search for Jennings and Beverly. It's an extremely risky flight, during which our heroes narrowly avoid crashing several times. Meanwhile, Jennings arrives at the nuclear power plant to absorb even more energy. You know, he kind of resembles Godzilla. The man climbs inside the reactor, powers up to the maximum, and returns to the tied-up Beverly. Howard and Phil scare off all the duck hunters and hurry to the laboratory too. They are shot at, and the fuel hose of the hang glider is pierced. but Phil manages to repair it, and they continue their flight. However, the police are hot on their heels. Their hang glider's wings are ripped off, and they end up riding it like a moped, eventually making an emergency landing straight into a river. Howard can't swim, but Phil saves him. Jennings arrives at the lab first. Using his superpowers, he disposes of the guard and blows up all the vehicles in his path. In the lab, Jennings ties up Beverly and prepares to activate the spectroscope to implant another Dark Overlord into the young woman's body. Howard and Phil arrive at the lab and find a special device called the neutron disintegrator. The spectroscope begins to lock onto its target, and at that moment, Howard and Phil appear near Jennings with their miracle device. The Dark Overlord uses his radioactive breath and laser vision, but Howard manages to activate the neutron disintegrator and expel the Dark Overlord's entity from Jennings' body. At that moment, the Dark Overlord reveals his true form. We see a disgusting creature resembling a giant demonic scorpion. The Dark Overlord grabs the people and Howard with his tentacles and activates the spectroscope. In 4 minutes, other aliens will arrive here. Howard manages to break free and activates the neutron disintegrator again. This time, the powerful laser completely destroys the Dark Overlord. With just 1 minute left until the arrival of the aliens, Howard realizes he has no other choice but to destroy the spectroscope to prevent other Dark Overlords from coming to Earth. He understands that he will never return to his home planet, but he is willing to sacrifice his own happiness for the sake of his beloved Beverly. Howard decides to stay on Earth. Now, he's the new manager of the band Cherry Bomb, where Beverly performs, and he joins them on stage. This duck is not only a superhero and the savior of our planet, but also a very cool guitarist.